Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Imagine That. I'm Tim Parker,
I'm Rick Rickard.
and we are excited to be here with you this week. I'm the Global Marketing Director for Imagine, and this is our
President, owner, catch-all, whatever it is, and love what I do.
good buddy,
Yes.
friend, brother in Christ. Yes. So we're excited to be here with you this week. We're excited for everybody that's tuning in. Thanks for tuning in with us each week and spending some time with us, listening to us share about what's happening with travel overseas. This week we're going to be catching up with you about several different things. We're going to try to debunk some of the rumors about Greece that kind of are dealing with the Santorini tremors that are happening. We're going to talk about cruise availability in 2026.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about the influx of tourism. Also, special incentives at the end of this for clergy. If you are watching us on Facebook, if you would, please like and follow our page. And then on YouTube, subscribe, yeah, got to subscribe. And enable notifications so that you know whenever we're live streaming, so that you'll get a notification that pops up saying that we've got a live stream happening, just in case you happen to miss the emails that we send out weekly. So, you ready to get into this?
Sure. What do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Santorini.
Santorini has probably been the most in the news.
Sure.
Not sure I'll use the right terminology. It's the tremors or the plates that are actually taking place underneath the island itself. Me personally speaking, I have my own ideas, but it really doesn't really matter what I think. But it's probably what everybody else is thinking too. So Greece has had a tremendous, tremendous increase in tourism. And due to that, the islands, which are without a doubt some of the most requested places to visit, Santorini being one of the most beautiful islands, along with Mykonos and many other picturesque islands, all the different postcards and pictures that you see of Greece. Santorini is by far one of them. And my personal thoughts are the fact that they have been saying for a long time that too many ships, too many tourists are coming. And I do believe that the tremors are real. I don't question the tremors. I question whether or not the impact is as broad as they might be making it with the tremors. And with that, it's a wonderful reason to control tourism, because honestly, if they could not have the cruise ships at all, I think they'd be very happy. I know that many of the other islands as well are overwhelmed when the cruise ships, and keep in mind, these ships, many of them are becoming more and more grand. I mean, some of them have, thousands of passengers. Some have 1,200, some have 600. But in doing so, it can become overwhelming. Most people that usually go to Santorini travel and spend a minimum of 5 to 7 nights, sometimes 2 weeks, and they vacation. And those that are arriving for those type of lifestyles are usually flying over and spending the time in Santorini, because it's a beautiful island to get away. It's a wonderful island to be able to walk on. It's a very high walking score, so you can walk about the island throughout. It's got terrific. Of course, they've got wonderful shops, foods. The people are great, but in all seriousness, it's a little daunting, because when you have all of these ships that are coming in, and the tourists are there for whether it's 4 hours, 8 hours, or 12 plus hours, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so with the shifting of the plates underneath and their concern as well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they would love to control the tourism. And if it means that they can push back, whether it's all the ships or some of the ships, whichever ones are choosing, I think that has a lot to do with it. That's just my personal opinion based on it. We don't want to have anybody disappointed, but I believe that it can be overwhelming. And tourism right now to Greece is at an all-time high. I mean, this last 15 months. And a lot of it has to do really over the course of time, not just the 15 months, but the last 2+ years. Even when we've been in Athens and other parts in Greece, talking to many of the different shop owners, restaurant owners, hotel managers, everything, they're grateful and they appreciate being busy, but it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
By far, they've had, I don't know, is it 3 times the amount of tourism of what they're accustomed to. So that being said, there's an impact. And I think people are happy to make the money that they're making, but they're also a little overwhelmed and tired.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting as we would talk to shop owners and, like you said, people who own restaurants over there. They were, like you said, happy that everyone was there, but I think they were also going to be excited whenever people began to travel back to Israel again, to kind of take some of that pressure off of them, with the infrastructure not being quite ready to have taken on what they ended up taking on.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it just in the increase of what we have in tourism to Greece alone. And, there's, many other companies besides us that are bringing tourists to Greece, and ours have, more than doubled plus in doing so. And so, we're excited, we're grateful, but I also know that it can be a little daunting for those that live there and work there. So I know that one of the recent changes that just came out, we've been notifying tour leaders and so forth that all of the March and April sailings, they've actually canceled with the Celestial Cruises, the ships being able to go to Santorini.
Yeah.
And so instead, they're replacing that with more time, to my understanding, to go to Crete.
Yep.
And I believe also Rhodes.
Okay.
There might be that as well.
Yeah.
The cruise lines have always said that they can change their rotation of their ports of call and things like that. So none of this is a surprise, but it's still going to be a wonderful cruise. People will love it. All of the islands are great. Crete, Heraklion is definitely known. Isn't that where Philip did some of his ministry as well?
You know better than I do.
Okay. I could be wrong, but I know that Paul definitely spent time there as well. And I'm sorry, it's Titus, not necessarily Philip. So, but I know that it's phenomenal in that sense, and it's a beautiful island. People love it. To do it, and of course Rhodes. I mean, what's there not to say about Rhodes?
Yeah, there's not a bad island to visit, right?
No, Rhodes has like the Crusaders wall and fortress built around it, if I recall correctly, and people love that. I since we're talking about Greece and the Greek islands, let me give just a small little warning, and I say this lovingly. If you do go to Rhodes and you're walking along, and what's nice is they have a lot of wonderful restaurants and a square and everything else. Please beware, as being a tourist, when you're going to the restaurants, that look at the menus and make sure you know that before you order, you know the cost of the item of the dish that you're ordering. And the reason I say this is many, many, many times, if we hear any types of complaints, that somebody says, I thought I was ordering a certain dish for my meal, whether it was lunch or dinner, and I expected it to be $20 or $25 or $30, and it ended up being double the cost. And so we, as the typical Americans, are very kind and friendly and don't want to say anything wrong, but do your homework beforehand. Before you order, make sure you know, is there a service charge for sitting, and what is that service charge? Is there a minimum of drinking, and what do you have to do so you don't have something added to your bill or your tab, and doing that in advance just to make sure. And make sure also that when you're looking at things, you understand that they're in euros and not in dollars.
Yeah.
Again, very simple stuff, but it's very easy for people for first time, if you have not been there, to know that.
Yeah.
So
That's good. All good advice. Yeah, I think normally it runs into a potentially whenever you're doing fish and they do it by the kilogram. That's whenever I've at least heard that they weren't expecting it to be that much. But you need to understand that pricing for sure.
You do.
So, and most of y'all know Rick, whenever he told me that he knew what was happening in Santorini, I thought he was going to say something along the lines of the islands were shaking because they were so excited for you guys to be coming.
Well, that part is still true. I don't want to limit that or take anything away from it. Yes, they are excited to see you, but right now, we know it's just affecting the March and the April groups. Hopefully, for those groups that are scheduled for May onward, maybe things will return back to normal and you'll get to go to Santorini as your port of call. But if not, know that they have good alternatives with Heraklion, Crete, and with Rhodes as a possibility.
So I know I know one of the concerns that originally was maybe that it was volcanic activity, and they've kind of put that out of everybody's minds. And as Rick said, if it is indeed anything, it's the tectonic plates, I think, that are moving around and causing the tremors. So, but a lot of people traveling. We had Rick Cromie Rick, it's good to see that you are watching us. We appreciate that and appreciate the update on that it was Titus in Crete.
Yes.
So thanks for that. So how does that look on the island of Santorini? Are the schools, I think, are they open? They're closed. I think they're closed right now. You've already told everybody that the March and April trips, and then if there's even any question about beyond March and April, because you've already said that those probably are going to be just adjusted, so go into it with that expectation. But anything beyond that, catch up with your leaders of your tours, because they're going to be able to give you any updates, because we've probably already followed up with them, even if an email's not gone out to passengers about that. We're following up with leaders so that they know what those look like.
Correct. And it has not impacted May onward trips, May onward departures. Those are still as it is right now. It's just the March and April.
Okay.
So those next month and the following month.
So Rick from Mana was probably wondering that. His trip doesn't go off until June, so I'm sure he's excited to hear that his has not been affected right now. So
correct.
Keep an ear out, Rick. We'll be in touch with you, buddy. So anything else that we need to talk about with Santorini?
I think that's, if you do get to go back, that's fantastic. Again, surprised you haven't touched on it yet, but food.
Of course,
there's always something to do with food.
Well, we kind of did, but I'm willing to pay whatever to get some of that fish. Some of that octopus, that was really good. Last time we were there, that was amazing. Yeah. So be excited about going. The only place that's really been affected by anything that's going on over right there right now is Santorini, and I know there's probably some disappointment from you guys in that are traveling in March and April, but you get to see some other islands that are going to be pretty amazing. So.
Correct. We do have a lot of groups that are traveling, which is exciting. This March, this April, and onward. We still have one or two cabins that are still remaining on a couple of groups, I think, is it in May and June, or the end of May, beginning of June?
Yes.
We do have a couple of cabins on a few trips, and then they're all sold out. And we should be finalizing those, I believe, in the next week or so as well, maybe even 10 days, depending on the departure date. But those have done exceptionally well. And then our fall groups are all starting to come together quite nicely as well.
Yeah.
So if you're an individual and you are wanting to go to Greece, please check out our website at www.ittworld.com and check them out, and even go to the Greece section or dates looking at it. You can still join on that, so that's exciting. And then what else did you want to talk about? Anything with the fall dates?
Well, first I want to cover that Rick covered that. He's covering the web links and different sites to go to, because apparently I always say it way too fast. I don't know. So maybe you guys can comment that. Maybe you like it better the way that I say it.
I think they do. I think they like it the way you do it better. So that's perfectly fine too.
So no, that's good stuff. We have. Let's just real quick talk about fall FAM date that we have.
We do.
Yeah.
It's an exciting and totally unique program. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's actually traveling during a time where there's not a cruise. So actually, it's going to be a complete land trip. But the exciting part about this is where normally, whenever you do Greece, say a 10-day with a 3-night cruise, usually the only location that you're visiting in Turkey is going to be Ephesus, which is in Kushadashi. This one, you actually get to travel to the biggest majority of the 7 churches.
Yes.
So, which is pretty amazing. So you'll go into Izmir and you'll visit Pergamum. You'll see Laodicea. You're visiting all up the coast of Turkey. So
It's exciting.
yeah, it's very exciting.
Now, I don't know that you do all 7 churches. I think we're highlighting the 5 of the 7 churches that are worth visiting, where there's actually something to still signify and see in doing that. But you actually have more time there as well. And for whatever reason, it seems every year for the last 30 plus years, so I'm dating myself here, people always ask, do you have anything that includes a little bit of the 7 churches and the footsteps of Paul? And so we actually have, for the first time, a combination Turkey and Greece fam trip familiarization tour for pastors and their spouses.
Yeah. And usually the only way that you get to see that is a way that they don't always offer to us. In fact, we were able to do it this past year, which was an 11-day with a 7-night cruise where you actually get to visit some of those sites that you don't normally get to see on a Footsteps of Paul trip. This way, you're actually able to spend some time. In fact, I believe we fly into Istanbul,
Yes.
change planes, fly down to Izmir, and then visit all of those sites. And then you take, I believe, a ferry boat across and connect, right? And then connect in northern Greece, and then you take your trip down from there.
Correct.
Yep. So you'll be over in Kavala, you'll hit Philippi, Lydia Springs, all of that area up north. I believe you actually visit Berea. And then make your way down through the middle of Greece into Meteora. And then you're back into Athens, Corinth, Mars Hill. You're seeing all of those sites. It's a great trip. So if you're interested in that, we've already got people that have registered for it. It's for our tour hosts right now. It's for the people that we have traveling with us that are putting tours together. And then hopefully, if you are a passenger, your church will put a tour together and you'll be able to go on that trip.
Yeah, that's correct.
So
The dates for that are November
3rd through the 13th. So 2025, November 3rd through the 13th.
and that's for all pastors, right?
All pastors.
Calling all pastors.
Calling all pastors.
All right.
So, so that's our big FAM information for Greece for this year. I think we've already closed out one that we had traveling in May.
Correct.
So this is your next opportunity to be able to travel to Greece and Turkey, which is a huge opportunity to be able to travel to those 2 spots.
At a phenomenal price.
Yeah.
I mean, the pricing is incredible, and we have flights confirmed with Turkish Airlines, and everything looks great out of Chicago, out of Dulles. So,
Yeah. So you can find out some information about that. If you'd like to, you can call us at 863-709-9208. If you look right there at the bottom of the screen, our phone number is going to be there. Or you can shoot us an email at sales@ittworld.com. I was trying to think about it really slow and process it, and it threw it right out of my mouth. So sorry about that, Rick.
that's fine. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. While we're talking, we're going to jump into some other stuff, but feel free if you'd like. You can jump in and give us a question through the chat. Zach is keeping an eye on all of those things. Let's talk about some of the policy changes that we've got going on through with Greece due to all of the high level of tourism that's going on there. The cruise lines are starting to push further and further out, right?
They are. They've become much more stringent in order to work with the Greece lines. This is for 2026 departures. So in addition to us not only securing the dates and paying deposits and so forth, but they have increased the amount of the deposits that we have to provide to them. Before it was just a $500 amount. Now, they've actually increased that amount to us as well. They've required that at 150 days prior to departure, we need to provide them with the preliminary rooming list. And then the cruise lines has also asked us for final payment to be earlier. So we've had to move our final payment deadlines up as well. I believe it's anywhere from originally looking at the 150 to 120 day time period. And then the tours actually closed out at that time. Part of it is the ships are overselling. And because there's so much demand based on it, they don't want to disappoint anybody. And if, one office or two offices or multiple offices are holding extra cabins that they don't plan on using, then they dump them at the last minute, and it ends up hurting everybody. And in particular, if you have a group where we've utilized all of the cabins that we've allocated for that group and confirmed, and then we have one or two that still want to add, we don't want to deny somebody from being able to do so. So part of those conditions is to better manage the time and the slots for what we have, and that's the requirements of 150 days and also 120 days out from departure. So we've also had to update all of our conditions.
Yeah.
They've also changed their policy in regards to what we had this year, well, even last year, where they included an alcohol package, unlimited drinks while on board. And last year, you could have drinks even if it was at lunchtime or even in between meals if you wanted to have a glass of wine or a beer or whatever their house specialty drink was, it was all included. Then this year, they changed it where alcohol was included, but it was only included at meals, and there was no after meals or in between meals. And then they changed it to not just any kind of alcohol, but then just house wines and local beer.
Yeah.
And then now for 2026, they've changed it completely. They're still charging the same or more for 26 because the demand's so high. But in addition to, there's no more included alcohol package, and now you have to pay for it yourself if you want anything. So they've gotten too smart for their own good, and so that's going to be an impact in 26.
Oh.
So not only the more stringent on when we provide them with deposits, a larger deposit amount, how quickly we have to provide them with preliminary rooming list, when they require the final rooming list, no more alcohol included in doing so. So we've just had to adapt and do so. And then to add to that, they threw us all a zinger, where now they're only including 2 of the excursions. We're still including the third. It's always been included. But you have 3 excursions that are included on the 3-night cruise with Imagine, even though the cruise lines for 2026 has changed that, where they're only including 2 in the pricing. So once again, their pricing reflects a higher price.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it. Don't ask me to do it all again, but we're trying to do this as a precursor for you when you're planning your 2026 so that we're being as transparent as possible, and it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah. So constant changes due to tourism levels, things that are happening just in that area of the world. I know we had a question, I think the question was prior to the earthquake, our cruise destination to Crete was canceled. Now Santorini is canceled. I believe there were only 2 other destinations, so half are canceled. So I think they were talking about cancellations to Crete initially, or changing those cruise into Crete because of water levels.
Correct.
So I think what probably happens is, they made that decision not to cancel or travel to Crete because of those water levels, but now that they have to, they'll put some things in place to be able to visit that island.
Correct.
So where the cruise ship normally would have ported right at Crete, now it's going to stand off and probably be ferried over to
And that's
the
exactly
island.
what they're doing.
Yeah. So they're making adjustments because they have to. They were not making adjustments before because they didn't have to. Now they have to they have to provide that. So they're called tender boats. I believe that will transfer you. I think they use those a lot at Patmos. To visit Patmos, so it's going to be the same situation if you've ever been there, where you jump on a smaller boat and it actually takes you over to the island. So that's how they will change that up.
Correct.
So that's good.
Yep. It's still going to be a wonderful trip.
Yeah, great
Without a
question.
shadow of a doubt. The only disappointment, if there is one, is right now Santorini is off limits for the March and April trips.
Yeah. So, and if there was any change in that, then we'll certainly let you know that if there's changes back to what the itinerary originally looked like.
You could change right back to normal again.
So, have we had? I don't know if we've had any other questions come in. Nothing. So, okay.
Perfect.
So we've talked, I think, through any of the changes that we have happening. Through the policies, different things like that. So just be flexible as we come to you with changes, because it's not anything that we've done ourselves. It's, if we're making changes, it's typically because we're getting changes from overseas.
Correct.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're a pastor and you're planning a trip to Greece for 2026, please reach out to us soon so you can get your dates, because we already have easily 30-plus groups that have booked for 2026. It seems a little odd being in February of 25, talking about trips to Greece in 2026, but a lot of it has to do with because of the increase in tourism.
Yeah.
And people are planning further and further ahead. So not to be disappointed, that's our recommendation.
Yeah, don't wait for anything, especially Greece right now. And in fact, everything is beginning to flow back in for Israel. I mean, we are getting some great questions about setting up tours. I don't know how many I've probably quoted in the last couple of weeks, but it's a lot, and I'm sure you and Andrew and Zach are quoting just as many as I am. So a lot of things happening there. I'm just trying to see. Oh. Rick, who is Rick from Manna, who has a trip with us this year and next year set up, is traveling. He's asking in Crete, is it possible to get to the church where Titus was pastor? I don't know. I have to check into that for you.
I believe it can be done, but we just have to get special clearance in order to do so.
Okay, so I'll check on that for you, Rick, and be in touch and let you know. And yes, it's pretty cool. So, back to any kind of questions. If you have a question, you can let us know in the chat. If you have a question, you can always send those questions in early. You can send those into info@ittworld.com, or you can send them into, even if it's a pastor has a question about it, you can send it into sales@ittworld.com. You can call us. I'll write down the question and bring it in here with me, and I'll stick it under Rick's nose so that he can read it and answer all those good questions that you have. But we are, unless we have any other questions, I think we're getting close to time anyway. So again, excited for everyone who was able to join in with us this week to talk about Greece. We have a special live stream next week.
Yes, we do.
We'll keep it a secret, I think, right now. We want to keep it a secret.
We'll give out a little hint.
Okay.
We will be in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
So we'll be live from Dallas, Texas.
Yeehaw. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Julius. Appreciate your question earlier and your comment. So we'll be excited to see everybody. We'll give you some more information once we, as we get through the week heading into it. But next week we will be on site in Dallas, and we will go from there.
Perfect.
So thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks again for traveling, trusting us with your travel. We look forward to many more trips with each and every one of you in the future. So take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.